notes, you should see this background. It's like sticky notes everywhere. So thank you. Please jump in. If I'm missing something, please jump in. So back to the ceremony. I want to do a quick screen share here to show you all where to get the program. I did email it out, but for people that are joining us that didn't necessarily get my email, I will show you on the Brookdale website where you can access the program. Can everybody see my screen now? Okay.
Yes, Kelsey.
So if you're from the homepage, if you're navigating from the homepage and you go to campus and community, you can also type in Global Citizenship Project and that should get you there, but you can go to campus and community, International Education Center. And then when you get on that page, you'll see the Global Citizenship Project and all of our offerings there, which you can peruse on your own time. I'm not going to go through them all because it's a lot actually. And the GCP Awards, when you get to that page, you will see all of our awards programs cataloged, and you'll notice I think this was the last time we gathered in 2018, this photo was taken, or maybe it was 2017. But the first award ceremony was 2011. You can check out the program for that and all the programs after. You can download the 2021 program and follow along with us. We will be following the program with one exception. I am going to shift and introduce our outstanding employees first, and then we'll move into our founders. So you'll hear about the history of the GCP. Then we're going to introduce our Global Citizenship Distinction Scholars, our Global Read honorees, our Curricular Award winners, our Co-Curricular Award winners. So everybody will be speaking, but it will be a fairly brief speech. So GCP, as you know, is the Global Citizenship Project, and really our mission is to bring global learning to Brookdale. And if anything, I'm going to stop the share now. And if anything underscores global learning and global issues, certainly it's a pandemic. And often I think of the caveats of virologists and epidemiologists. No one is safe until we're all safe. So, you know, each person can get their shot, get vaccinated, but when we have people that are unvaccinated that cannot get access to those supplies, the virus continues to mutate and we don't know what the vaccine efficacy will be. So really, and anyone that's paying attention, and I know Raj has a connection with India, but anyone who's paying attention to global news will see it's just heartbreaking. It's gut-wrenching, it's awful. But tonight is a night of positivity. So we have to balance our awareness of the bad things with our hope for the future. And I think that everybody that we're honoring tonight really brings so much positivity to Brookdale. And I just feel so excited to share this night, even though it's not in person and I can't offer you coffee and cookies, we can still enjoy each other's presence and learn from each other. So without further ado, I'm going to go into the Outstanding Educators portion. Debbie Mura, she unfortunately cannot be here tonight, but I often think of her as one of the founders of GCP, even though she's not an official founder. But to me, she really represents everything that GCP is about. So it's about the actual issues themselves, but then practicing what you preach, putting all of this learning into practice. And she works with TIN, as many people on the call know, and she is the advisor to the Current, the student newspaper. So we're very, very proud to honor Debbie tonight for this award. Our next awardee is Professor Harry Compton. He is an environmental science professor, and we are so lucky to have him here at Brookdale. He had a career at the EPA, 34 years. He did disaster relief, traveled around the world. We've been able to witness some of his awesome presentations where he's got artifacts and primary sources of what it was like to travel and respond to disaster in these countries. And we're so fortunate to have him here at Brookdale. So Professor Compton, if you can just unmute and say a few words about GCP or Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I just keeping it brief. I can't remember how I first kind of had that first intersection with you, but I don't know if it was with Lucina or you or somebody, but somehow there was this glancing blow. And then all of a sudden I realized how much was going on there at GCP, and, you know, global citizen, the whole concept of global citizens. Aren't we all global citizens? And so many people don't realize that we're not global citizens. And so anyway, then the more I got to meet other folks and got more and more involved and saw the breadth and depth of the activities there, I was overwhelmed. I just couldn't believe everything that was going on. And I feel kind of bad that I feel like I'm only did a little chunk. So I'm humbled, and I am very grateful, and thank you for the award.
Thank you. And if I can say, you only did a little chunk because you were working at the EPA for 34 years. So the amount of time that you've been here, you have been doing so much. So my hat's off to you, Professor Compton. Our next outstanding employee is Professor Maloney. Professor Maloney is a very close friend of mine, so I am a little biased, but she just is an inspiration to me. She's really one of those people that she's both a mentor and she's so much wiser than I am, and then somehow less jaded than I am. So I just love that she embodies this youthful enthusiasm of a new teacher with the wisdom and experience of, you know, somebody that's seasoned. So she's just a wonderful asset to Brookdale, and I'm so proud to be her colleague. She's taken students to 5 different countries on 6 study abroad trips, and she would have gone much more had it not been for COVID. So without further ado, Professor Maloney.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me like seriously blush. But I have to say, like, this is probably the most like proud I've been of an award maybe since like elementary school. I don't have my my college diploma on the wall, but when this certificate comes, like, it's like totally going on the wall. Like, GCP means so much to me, in introducing students to things around the world. You know, as a literature teacher, like, what's the value of literature if you can't use it to connect your experience with the experiences of others around the world and see how you're similar and how you're all human, like how Harry said. And as a writing teacher, what's the point of writing if you can't use that to communicate with people around the world and communicate with your fellow human beings? So like, thank you so much. I don't want to hold up the presentation, but man, this was like the highlight of my year. So thank you.
Yay. I do miss the applause. I really miss that part of the ceremony. So a lot can be said for our next portion of the ceremony, which is dedicated to our founders. I'm going to have Dr. Thomas take over for this portion of it.
Great, thank you, Kelsey. I am so excited to see you all. I think my last count, I know there have been additional people adding to the Zoom, but when I checked early on, there were more than 50. So this is really exciting in a virtual environment that, that we have so many people who are engaged. Before we get into our history and honoring our founders, I do want to take a moment and recognize Dr. Bill Burns, who has joined us tonight, and also Dr. David Stout, our president. Dr. Stout is actually doing double duty at another event and at this event. But we are, you can't imagine how appreciative we are of you supporting us and being here to share this very important evening with our students and with honoring our employees. So thank you so much for support. And so we do want to keep it short because we're all zoomed out. So I'll get right into a little bit of the organization and honoring our founders. You have, if you're following the program, you do have a wonderful history that was written by Dr. Khan. But by my estimate, by now, we have honored more than 260 students and employees including 3 academic departments. And by the end of tonight, I think we'll have honored more than 300 individuals. We have globally enhanced courses in every institute. The GCP has led to 2 other successful initiatives, the Innovation Network, the Global Citizenship Distinction Program. And over the years, we've presented our work at regional and national conferences, and we have been recognized nationally. In 2015, our Students for Global Citizenship was cited by the American Council on Education as a model from the field for global and cultural student organizations. And in 2017, AAC&U highlighted our maths department work on globally enhancing some of the courses within the math department. We couldn't have come this far if we didn't have the vision, the energy, and commitment of our amazing founders, Dr. Tom Burke, Dr. Terry Kahn, and Professor Howard Miller. You know, every initiative needs a visionary. And Tom, you were our visionary. You were pushing us to imagine the impossible as if it were, yeah, this is easy, not a problem, right? We took about a year in 2008 and 2009 of many, many meetings and discussions to come up with the conceptual framework for what, in Tom's words, would be saving the world. What would that look like? And Terry, you were really, really brilliant in being able to take Tom's vision and help us to distill it into something practical and doable. And then Howard, with your amazing organizational skills, your ability to motivate faculty to get on board, working one-on-one with your colleagues to help them globalize their courses, that really, really brought GCP into campus-wide awareness. And that was just incredible. And so we are so pleased to be able to recognize and to honor our founders, Dr. Thomas Burke, and Terry Kahn, Dr. Terry Kahn, and Professor Howard Miller. So our founders will be receiving a plaque that will read, "The International Education Center at Brookdale Community College recognizes Dr. Thomas Burke, Dr. Terry Kahn, and Professor Howard Miller." Of course, they will each receive their own plaque, "for founding the Global Citizenship Project and bringing an awareness of global issues to the Brookdale community through curricular and co-curricular programs." April 29, 2021. And so I would like to ask each of our founders to just take a few moments to maybe say a little bit about what GCP has meant to you, what inspired you to be involved in this. And yeah, we'd just love to hear from you. So Terry, would you like to go first? And you need to unmute, Terry.
Tom, you want to go first?
Oh,
I
Tom?
mean, yes.
Yep, okay.
All right, Tom's
Dr.
going
Becky.
first.
Okay. Actually, the thing that inspired me to start the idea of global citizenship was Nick Kristof and Cheryl Woodon's Half the Sky, where each chapter dealt with a more gruesome malady that was occurring within the world. And at the end of each chapter, mercifully, they showed a group that was making a huge difference with that in one part of the world or more globally. And I thought that it might be a great idea to bring that into the classroom to introduce students to the idea that that existed. A whole bunch of things. I guess Kelsey Mackey first, although chronologically it didn't work that way. Howard and I, when we were working on the Global Citizenship Project, of course, Terry was extremely important. I'll get to that in a sec. I don't mean to pass over you, but both Howard and I, separately, without knowing it, were trying to recruit Kelsey to run Global Citizenship after Terry had finished her term. Both of us thought that she was sensational, but looking back on the years that she's been running Global Citizenship, we didn't realize how sensational she really was. And she's taken it from the small idea that we had, which really wasn't so small, and sort of exploded it across campus and to all the awards that you've referred to. Terry Kahn I had known for a long time before I started Global Citizenship, and in some meeting I tapped her on the shoulder and said, what do you think? And then we sat and I explained to her and she said, nobody's going to ever understand what you're saying. She said, I'm going to sit down and come up with an idea that'll be more saleable. And I figured, you know, a week or a month later, the following morning, she came back and said, what do you think about this? And I'm sitting here and saying, this is freaking brilliant. I just absolutely didn't expect it so quickly, and I didn't expect it to come out so well. We should also mention, as I'm sure Terry's going to, that if it weren't for Terry, Global Citizenship Awards would not have existed, and the Global Citizenship recognition would not have existed. Now let me pick on poor Howard. Just to give you an idea of Howard and how amazing he is. By the way, Debbie and Howard were two people I had never known before, and I just walked into their lives and talked to them, and just totally serendipitously, totally fortuitously got to know them. And it's among the best, I guess, chance happenings that had happened in my life. An example with Howard, I was sitting thinking about Global Citizenship, and we were at a point where we needed a newsletter. And so somewhere around 4:35 in the morning, I figured I would write an email and send it out to Howard, figuring he would wake up at 9 or 10 and get back to me. I got an instant reply. He said, okay, what categories do you think should be in the newsletter? And I said, okay, these categories. And he said, who do you think should write each one of those columns? And I told him, and I said, okay, when do you think we can get this back and get the newsletter out? He said, oh, the requests have already been sent. So it was like a 15-minute session where Howard's amazing skills were manifest, and I mean, sort of the rest is history. And again, Kelsey, amazing, absolutely amazing job that you had done. Now, Terry, see if you can also stay under an hour and a half. I don't know that I did such a good job staying under that.
Well, hopefully I'll stick to a couple minutes. Go ahead, Kelsey.
Oh, I was just going to say, you spent all your time talking about everybody else, Tom. That's basically the essence of global citizenship right there.
All right, I think I'm sharing. Do you guys see what I see?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
all right. So I just have some photos. So I thought I would share some visualization of what global citizenship was all about. So this is Tom and I early on, and Janice there. I think really in our first year, we were trying to get the students excited, and this is one of the first groups of students that we had that was really involved. They started to raise money for, to build a clean water well, which we did. We accomplished. A water well was built in Sierra Leone. Students raised money to buy goats and cows for impoverished families in Rwanda. The poetry slam and a basketball game, that was their first idea, is to raise some money. It probably wasn't very financially sustainable, but it was a lot of fun and the students really got involved. Sharing awareness is one of our biggest things. As you learn something, you have to share it with others so they also learn. This was a debate with Rwandan survivors who came to Brookdale, and our students debated and asked them questions about their experiences. Myself and Dr. Prasad and I think Lucy one time, Deborah Mura actually drove, and we went to the UN with groups of students. This just happens to be some photos of our students, Brookdale students, with me on a trip to Rwanda. And after we raised enough money for those goats and cows, I actually took them to a cow market, and they bought those goats and cows, and we actually delivered them to the families. And I think that was the best experience those students could have ever got. Being in the market and trying to figure out what to do, and then going to these families who were just overwhelmed with the gifts, and I don't think any of these students will ever forget that experience. This was a color run that we did. There's Dr. Wesley up there in the right corner with us. It was a color run, a fun run for students in the community to raise money again for the water well. This is students from the clubs, and they wanted to go to Ghana, and so that was a project that they did at one of the orphanages. So, over the years since Tom and I talked in the hallway, he actually used to badger me, not in the hallway, not just talk to me. So I can unshare for a second here. Unshare, stop share. Tom would see me, walking down the hallway, and he'd say, "Hey," and I'd think, "Oh, here comes Tom again. He's going to talk to me about something." And over all these conversations, we kept going back and forth. How do we get the students active? Because I'd get them in my office saying, "Oh, I heard you did this. I heard you did that. I want to try something like that. How do I get involved?" And then with Tom coming, and he wanted to incorporate it in classrooms, and I said, "All right, let's try something curricular, co-curricular, and figure it out." And I think one of our first ideas, his was Save the World. We kind of came up with, let's dare the faculty to get the students to care. And they were acronyms to kind of get the faculty motivated and involved and whatnot. And I think it started out slowly. We got speakers to come in and talk about topics. We try to engage the students. But over the years, it has developed into so much more. We have several clubs, not even just the Students for Global Citizenship, but there are 4, 5, 6, 8 other clubs on campus that now are involved in activities that are globally related. It's not just their focus on women or their focus on something else. Even the environmental club is very global. Everything has really expanded, and I think the students have taken that concept, and I think that's what I'm the most proud of, is that it has become so integrated, and it is to the hard work of Janice Thomas and Kelsey and everybody else involved, all the faculty members involved. So yeah, Tom and I talked a lot in the hallways. We ignited the fire, I think, but in 10 years we've seen a lot of change. And I think even, I remember I was the faculty liaison in the International Center. And one of the things I remember while I was in that position, I was reading a lot about internationalizing your campus. And it wasn't so much just bringing, people from different places to campus. It was really creating a culture. And now I'm looking back 10 years and I say, we have a culture. We have a new culture, and that culture is really about global issues and about how those issues affect me and affect you. And I think that's a difference. And I hope that we can continue that. I am really proud of the students and all the hard work that they have done. They've gotten involved in the activities they're involved in and educating others about global issues. And I think, when the students tell me something and I say, well, how are you going to tell others about this? What are you going to do about it? There's some issue, if this is something you're passionate about, then find the ways to educate others and get involved. So there's just too many success stories. You know, Janice said there's 300 and some, and there's far beyond that, you know, that we may not have even recognized, and you know, all those success stories. So I'm very proud of every single student, faculty members, staff, the community, anybody who has been involved in this project over the 10 years. So I want to thank you all. And I hope that I can come back in 10 years, Zoom or not Zoom, in 10 years, and listen again and reflect back on what has transpired in the next 10 years, you know. But I truly do believe that we have reached a point of internationalizing our campus and our curriculum and our activities. So I think we have exceeded that. So I think we should be very proud of that across the nation. You know, others just don't get it. And we have. So I thank you all. Thank you
Thanks,
for
Dr.
honoring
Khan.
me.
Thanks, Dr. Khan.
You're
Professor
welcome.
Miller, your turn.
So wouldn't you know it, Terry and Tom talk about important things. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Oscars that to do today. But seriously, thank you, Dr. Thomas. Thank you, Professor Mackey, for having me here today. It's great to be here. It's great to have this opportunity to hang out and to honor the students and colleagues who've just done great work this year. You guys are the reason we tried to do this at the beginning. And this is what makes me happy. Also, the Oscars. So for those who know me, you know I'm actually not going to talk about the Oscars really. But I was watching a show on YouTube, not a thing my generation does so much, called The Rising. It's from the organization The Hill. It has one liberal and one conservative commentator. And I was listening to the conservative commentator, Sagar and Jetty, something people of my political persuasion tend not to do. And he talked about how the Oscars just bombed in their ratings. And one of the reasons he said that happened is because to Gen Z, famous is famous to you. What he meant by that is we're consuming our news so differently from the way we used to. We're consuming our news differently from the way people older consume, well, people like me consume our news. And this matters a lot. And it's the people who are here tonight, the students who have done great work, who are outstanding critical thinkers, who can help bridge necessary gaps, because not everybody's listening to conservative commentators when they should, and liberal commentators when they should, because I think we need to do this to understand different perspectives out there. A Pew Research study from last year showed that something that I think was really cool, 94% of Democrats thought that global warming was a big deal in the United States. The same study said 41% of Republicans said it was a big deal. And I'm not here to virtue signal. That's not the deal. The thing is, it is great, in my opinion, that we're getting our news differently and that famous means famous to me. But what that ends up meaning is we're finding information from lots of places, and sometimes that information isn't honest. It's your job, guys. You know, I'm going to be old soon if I'm not old already. I need you guys to help your friends and your colleagues be better researchers, be better learners, be better consumers of information, because I don't know. I'm not here to say who's right, the 94% of liberals or only the 41% of conservatives. I think that global warming and climate change is a big deal. And if we can get people into the right places to learn and think about this in the right ways, it's so hopeful. It is so hopeful, our future. That's you guys. That's why we're here tonight, to honor you. So thank you for these couple of minutes. And I would like to turn it back over to you students, the people who really, really deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Miller. And if you all would indulge me just 1 minute more, I do have one more honor to bestow. And as Kelsey mentioned at the onset, as our faculty liaison, she will be completing her tenure with us in June. So you all know, all have sung her accolades in terms of how she's really built the GCP such that it is really in the DNA of Brookdale now. So we are also going to be honoring Kelsey with a plaque that reads, "The International Education Center at Brookdale Community College recognizes Professor Kelsey Mackey for outstanding service promoting global initiatives as faculty liaison to the International Education Center, July 2015 to June 2021. So Kelsey, we just want you to know how much we appreciate all that you've done. The last 6 years, it has truly been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have you as a colleague. So we'll certainly miss you. But we know that you will be always there. That we'll always be able to call on you, and that you will always be supporting our work. Since, as Dr. Khan says, you know, global is part of Brookdale's DNA now. So well done, and well done to our founding members. So thank you so much for joining us and being with us here tonight. And now I think, Professor Mackey, we need to get on with honoring our students, yes?
We sure do. Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. I'd like to introduce Dr. Wesley, who is the coordinator for the Global Citizenship Distinction Initiative. And she's going to introduce her students. They're all going to say a few words. And then we will move into our curricular awardees. And last but certainly not least, our wonderful clubs who have just done so much amazing work this year. So I know we are already at the half-hour mark, still shooting for 8 p.m., maybe 8:30, but yeah. So without further ado, Dr. Raj Wesley.
Thank you, Kelsey. Good evening, everyone. I have written in red, 30 seconds, Raj. So I've written that. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to try, because I just wanted to say, after listening to our founders and everyone else, I'm like, wow, these are big shoes to fill. I'm trying, okay? I'm very proud to present 3 GCD Scholars this year, the first group since I took over. And I don't need to tell you anything more about GCD. I'd written myself a little script, but I'm like, oh, I can just skip past that because you guys did such a great job, Terry and Tom and Howard. Thank you. So as you know, we recognize students as Global Citizenship Distinction Scholars after they have done so much to show us that they are extraordinary. They just don't do the base course curriculum. And I have to tell you, I am just wow with these students that I have been working with these past 2 years. So very quickly, I'm going to say just a little bit about each, and then they are going to talk. So the first student we have on our GCD list is Jamie Allison Clore, and she is in Singapore. The time there is very early in the morning. Jamie is not very well today, so she has sent us a video, which we will show you, but I just want to tell you in 30 seconds about her. So her motto is grow seeds of change, shine the light of love, and create an inclusive community for all. And this young lady is so passionate about reaching out to anyone, especially in the underprivileged strata of society, with her kindness, with her empathy, and we have it all documented. It's just too much to even speak here, but I'm going to have Kelsey Frank, who's showing us the video from Jamie that she sent us. So let's see that. Congratulations, Jamie. She is on the call, but she is not doing too well, so she has not turned on her camera. She's listening from her bed, I think. So let's see what she has to say. There she is.
Hello, New Jersey. Hi, Brookdale. My name is Jamie Allison Shin. I'm actually in Singapore, so I'm sorry that I couldn't make it today. I thought I would do a quick video to say hello and to give thanks to Brookdale for creating the GCD, Global Citizen Distinction. I'll be honest with you, I've always been a globally focused person ever since I was a teenager. I just knew there was more to the world than what I was seeing in New Jersey, Manila, New Jersey to be exact. And I knew like once I got out of my parents' house, I would travel the world and it would open my eyes up to new experiences and different people. And I always tell everyone to just travel when you can. I know COVID is restricted right now, but definitely like travel when you can. And I actually just wanted to also say quickly hello to Thomas Burke. I think it's great what you've been doing with the garden, the meditation garden. And actually I see Howard Miller is on this call. I want to say hi to Howard Miller because I actually was in speech class and we watched your videos. Of course you weren't my teacher, but we watched your videos and I learned a lot from your presentations. Also thank you to Dr. Wesley and Professor Mackey, sorry. I actually was not going to be in this video coming to you because I recently had a bad experience, and but then Professor Mackey and Professor Wesley reminded me that even if you just touch one person and share your story and give a helping hand, then you're making a difference. So even I sometimes get down and discouraged. So I wanted to tell everyone on this call, no matter who you are, we all go through obstacles, and all those obstacles make us stronger in the end. So please go out and sorry, it's, oh my gosh, it's like almost 2.5 minutes, so I'm gonna end this. I know I could ramble on. I didn't plan a speech, it's just coming from the heart. And I just want to tell everyone that just please go out there. Every day you could just lend a helping hand, just open the door for an older person. You could go out in your community and you could volunteer. You could even do it on Zoom. And reach out and discover their world. It opens your eyes up to new experiences and it gives you a heart of compassion. So just keep being you, and yeah, I wish you all good luck. Congratulations 2021. Bye.
Thank you, Jamie. That was amazing. I'm so happy that the video came through. Okay, Kelsey, awesome. Frank, everyone who helped us. The second GCD scholar I have the pleasure to introduce this evening is Maeve Maguire. If you know this young lady, what a delight to work with. She is going to be recognized again later this evening, I saw, but I will steal the thunder. So Maeve is this extraordinary student who is so passionate. And what really impressed me so much about her portfolio was the depth into which she goes with each of those projects and those papers. No margin for error, this young lady. And she has done so much that her portfolio is stellar. I'm going to use it as all the three that we are bringing this evening are beautiful. So let me introduce Maeve to speak about her work. Okay, Maeve, come on.
Hi. So, I mean, this has been kind of a weird experience. I actually started, I joined the GCD cohort right before COVID. And I also have taken a bit of a different approach to it than Rob and Jamie. Instead of taking the globally enhanced classes, I took my projects and my papers in my classes and brought a global focus to them. So that's been a bit of a different experience that way. But if anyone who actually, who knows me on this call knows that when I started school at Brookdale, my goal was to not join anything, to keep my head down, to go to my classes, come home and not do anything else. Which obviously that's not the way that it went. And I think Brookdale is a really hard place to keep your head down and not join anything. You know, I joined TIN, and Professor Burke and Professor Mura both encouraged me to join GCD, and then Dr. Wesley has really encouraged me to keep on staying involved, as well as Rob and Jamie. Really, I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is that I'm going to really be able to bring the global perspective with me when I graduate and transfer. It's already, I am transferring to St. Elizabeth University in the fall, and my work and portfolio from GCD has helped me with that transfer and getting into that school. So I'm really appreciative, and yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Maeve. That was beautiful. She's very humble. You know, as you can see, she does a lot of beautiful work. You have to see her portfolio to see the richness of it. Congratulations, Maeve. Our third GCD scholar this evening is Robert Manila. It's my pleasure to introduce Robert to you all. Robert, a student veteran at Brookdale, very friendly, very helpful. It is in his DNA. The students just look up to Robert. He's like a mentor everywhere, omnipotent. That's what I didn't know Robert in the beginning, but I used to see some pictures in the MAS building, and I said, that's the student I have. That's the guy in my GCD. So Robert is this veteran, but he has served overseas. He has such a rich international experience, and very happy to share it with the GCD students, like a little big brother there. Robert, it was so beautiful the way you led us. He has been very instrumental, along with Jamie and the others, in giving me feedback on tweaking some of the GCD challenges we were having without bringing the quality down. We have maintained the rigor. His portfolio is excellent. I just want to say one thing and bring Robert on. He has the distinction of having served as the vice president and the president of the National Student Veteran Organization of America. We're so proud of that. And Rob, come on, you can unmute yourself and share your insights with everyone. Congratulations, Robert.
I would like to start by thanking the Academy. I was always raised as a global citizen. My father is a Native American from the Guarani tribe in Peru, and he emigrated here late in the 60s. And he always taught me to look at the news and look what's going on around the world, but don't take everything at face value, and make sure you do your own research, you get involved, and you do more with that information. And that's something I've always kept with me in my time in the military, overseas. When I came back, I worked law enforcement. I've done a lot, and then returned as an adult student. And I was so happy to see that Brookdale had a culture that fostered the education of global issues and how to get involved and how everything's interconnected. And that's really something important that most people don't follow through with. They'll just be concerned about their local area, what affects them directly, and that's where it ends. But one of the main things to me has always been learn as much as you can, find out everything you need to, and then do something with it. Don't just take that information with you and go home. Make sure that you pass on to whoever else is around you something useful if you can't do it yourself, or help them and mentor them. And that's how you get things moving. So thank you everyone that's put the program together. Thank you for all that have guided me through it, and I appreciate all your work.
Thank you, Robert. I just wanted to say that Robert and Maeve, I think you two, you're wearing your medallions. Can you just show that to the group? Yeah, thank you. I just saw that. I'm like, oh yeah, I know Jamie is waiting for hers in Singapore. It's in transit, I gather. It's going.
It's actually in New Jersey.
Oh, it is in New Jersey, yes.
Yeah. So whenever I get back there, I'll get it.
Okay, Jamie. You will get it, okay? Congratulations. Let's give a big applause to our Global Citizenship Distinction Scholars. They have done an amazing job. And I'm like, go make Brookdale proud, okay? We are so proud of you. Bravo. And I have one more small job, and then I will sign off for the evening. it is my pleasure now to introduce two young ladies who are, I have nominated them for the GCP Award for their global read participation. Brilliant young ladies, as you will see. So I just wanted to give you a very brief, so the Global Read in Brookdale is a theme-based collection of articles, stories, fiction, that we have been doing year after year, and is a wonderful activity that brings the entire college together. So this year we picked an anthology of climate fiction titled Everything Changed. For those of you who have seen it, it is not very easy. It is pretty dense and abstract, and I am so proud of my two students here. So first, we bring on Belinda Azamoah, who, I just want to say this, she just started GCD this semester, spring of 21, and she jumped right on board. Big smile, lot of energy. Okay, Dr. Raj, what do you want me to do? All right, let's go, you know, and with the guidance of Robert and Jamie and Maeve, she's really blossoming. So the strangest thing about Belinda is she's dual major, nursing and writing. How often do you see that? So where is Belinda? Let me bring her on. Let's welcome Belinda.
Hi.
Where are you? I can't find, oh, there you are. Do you see her smile? All right, so go ahead.
I'm so thankful and very humbled to be receiving this award. And when I decided to do the global read, I didn't know there would be an award coming. Doing this global read has really opened my eyes to so many things about the environment. And I want to thank God and also thank all my advisors, Dr. Raj, Dr. Thomas, and Professor Mackey. It has been really an honor working with all three of you. And I'm looking forward to be more active in GCD. Yes. Thank you again.
Yeah, she did an excellent reading piece on, what was that called? The grandchild paradox. Was that right, Belinda?
Yeah, the grandchild paradox.
Yeah, we had a panel on April 9th. It was the GCD students led the panel, and there was a very nice discussion. So it would be very long this evening to have them do that, but they did a beautiful job. And my last student that I'm presenting to you today, again, for her brilliance in the global read, is Tiffany Orange. She is a political science and international relations major. Every time I talk with her in my office hours, I can just see this young lady who's so concerned about the earth, the world. She is from Haiti and understands that people everywhere have more or less the same issues. For such a young lady to have that pathos, that depth, moves me many times. And I have told her, we need you guys. So she did an excellent piece from the anthology called Standing Still. They did a very good discussion, but I will bring Typhon on so she can share some. Where is Typhon? Ty, where are you? Take it.
So hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for this award. And well, I didn't really get there like by myself, although like I'm really happy for this, but I did get a lot of help to do the work that I did. And I just wanted to say, without listing anyone, because there's a lot of people, to say like thank you to all those people who like help me every day on my schoolwork and also in my life. And I know that I can always count on them, and they will always be there to help me keep going. And I am really passionate about a lot of things, and I do hope that one day I do get to make them real. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. Congratulations to Belinda and Typhani for our global read. And with that, Raj says bye for now. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations to all our awardees.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wesley. And the students are just phenomenal, I have to say. This group of students is so inspirational. And everybody that is getting an award tonight, did you know that your award at this ceremony counts towards Global Citizenship Distinction? So if you're interested in becoming a GCD Scholar, reach out to Dr. Wesley. Maybe you want to put your email in the chat. It's also in the program. So without further ado, though, we're going to move into the Curricular Award portion of the program. And I'm going to have the professor briefly introduce the students, and the students will say a few words about their work. And we know that our students have done such deep thinking and really researched. Unfortunately, the time limitations don't allow us to go into that depth, but they'll give us a little taste of what they learned in their respective classes. So Professor Barella, can you please introduce your students?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Barella, and I teach in the reading department. We do a lot of reading. And in my reading class, the students use the reading strategies that they learn to complete a research project. So part of my curriculum involves global issues. And of course, our theme has been environmental issues. So the theme that my two students, Alyssa and Serena, their class focused on was environmental or dealt with environmental. The students analyze an article. They do a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not going to go into with the article. The end project is to present what they learned through a PowerPoint, and they present to the class. And one of the things that I tell them that's important to me in their presentation is I want them not only to tell the class what they learned through their research, but to teach us something. And these two girls taught me something, okay, that I didn't know about the oceans or the environmental issues or the threats to our oceans, and also something called fast fashion, which I had never heard about before. So I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm going to introduce Alyssa Hendrickson first. Her presentation was on fast fashion, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about it. Okay, Alyssa.
Well, fast fashion refers to clothing that is mass produced quickly to meet new seasonal trends. And they're usually produced at low cost, but use cheap materials and toxic dyes, which isn't good for our environment, especially when they get thrown out and end up in landfills. And some things that I learned from my research was that during manufacturing and transport, more greenhouse gases are emitted than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. And it produces 20% of our wastewater. And from my research, it really opened my eyes to how our clothing that we wear every day affects our environment, and the things, like the small things that we can do to try and stop these or make a change.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Alyssa. Serena Polisi is my other student, and her research was about the threats to our oceans. And again, I didn't realize how many threats there are and how bad it is. And the beautiful ocean that I live so close to, that I love just watching, is in danger, real bad danger. And again, not only did she inform us about all these things, she taught us something, which is what I love. So Serena, it's all yours.
Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you, Professor Barella, for the wonderful opportunity. You were honestly one of my favorite professors, and I love taking your class. The title of my research was Threats to Our Ocean. And it focuses on the negative impact human activities such as overfishing and the littering of plastic debris have on the ecosystem and biodiversity. The ocean is one of the most unexplored parts of our planet, and this magnificent environment is under serious threat. If we don't change our ways, plastic is set to outnumber fish by 2050. 100 million marine animals die each year from plastic waste. 70% of our debris sinks to the ocean's ecosystem, 15% floats, and 15% lands on our beaches. Despite all of this, there is hope. There are many groups that are trying to help our oceans. Some of these groups include Oceana, Greenpeace, and Ocean Conservancy. Also, there are many things society can do to reverse these damages. For instance, regulating how much fishing should be allowed and keeping our beaches and oceans clean by recycling or creating less waste. Professor Barella was determined to teach us the importance of environmental disasters and the negative impact it has on our ecosystem. In Professor Barella class, we also read a novel named Dry by Gerard and Neil Shuterman, which focused on environmental disasters and the consequences it had, not only on the world itself, but like on the people that surround these everyday activities. You know, it was amazing what we read in this novel, and the serious consequences that we can have if we don't fix our behaviors now. All my best childhood memories were on the ocean, and that's why this hits so close to me. Since I was the age of 3, I always sailed on boats. So if I will do everything and anything in my power to help preserve this magnificent environment so that other people can form unforgettable memories the way I did with my family. Thank you.
Oh, ladies, thank you so much. That was wonderful. And it's my honor to nominate both of you. My honor. I hope I get to see you in person one day.
Yes, me too.
Thank you. Professor Compton, can you please introduce your students?
Sure, I would love to. I'm gonna start with Margie Quintana, and she is a young woman with lots of energy, and she is driven. She has this unabashed approach to life and very energetic. I soon learned after her being a student in my class that I had this experience where she doesn't like being told no, or you can't do that. And she wants to know why, why not? Why can't we do these things? Why can't we jump over buildings in a single bound? We should be able to do these things. Anyway, she's very optimistic and concerned for the future. She's was born in the Philippines, spent an early part of her life in the Philippines, and she wants to help wherever and whenever she can, if she's able or capable. So that's Margie Quintana.
Hi, thank you so much for recognizing us. Thank you, Professor, for inspiring me. As he said, I was born in the Philippines, and we don't really have like enough education of what we have here about the environment. So I wasn't, I didn't take advantage of that. And I've been always like a global person, but I never really had enough information. Like even in high school, I didn't even I didn't really get enough information. But then I came to Brookdale and took like a bunch of science class, and especially Professor Compton gave me more experience and inspiration and more information that I didn't know. So like one of my, what we were talking about when we had a one-on-one meeting, my goal is when I'm done with having kids and my job, and I wanted to get it right away, have my own, I guess, organization or business that I want to make my country in the Philippines more better and alive, because I get sad when people say, oh, Philippines is a poor country. I don't want to hear that. Like Philippines is very like live, like very hospitality people. And I really want to focus in a bunch of more my province area. Like we don't have clean water. And when I was living in my country, I didn't think that drinking just in the faucet water and we didn't have filters. I was just drinking it. That's why I'm sick all the time. And you can see stray dogs that it's just really sad in my province, but it's alive there. And I want to grow and have an organization to make my country better. And now that I have more information about the environment and more of the background, thanks to Professor Compton, I feel like I'm ready. And if anything, I can always come to him for more like advice. So I just want to say thank you.
Very good. All right, and the second student I would like to nominate is a young man who's driven, he's focused, has grit for a couple different things, but he wants to do the right thing. And Howard Miller actually said something a little bit earlier about, because we consume news from all these different outlets, whether it be cultural institutions or social institutions or social media or just general media. Anyway, I love having Brendan Cusack in my class because he was the guy that pulled the curtain back and exposed, well, this is what's really going on behind the scenes. So I love that. It made it a lot more engaging in the class. Anyway, he has grit, as I mentioned. He was a Marine. He spent time in the Middle East. And he's a fantastic student. And so he's focused on his goals. And so anyway, that's Brendan. Great young man.
Thank you so much, Professor Compton, both for that the lovely introduction and for nominating me for this. I think when you first told me, my response was I'm floored and I'm honored, and I still feel that way to be with all of these other students who have done such fantastic work, and to be able to have the opportunity to deep dive myself a little bit more on some issues that I only had a casual understanding on. For this, I did a lot of research on the Syrian civil war and how climate acted as a threat multiplier out there, and how it just exacerbated the already social and religious and economic tensions in the area. It was incredibly interesting, and getting to do that and getting to learn so much from Professor Compton, both in principles of sustainability last semester, and then this semester having him again, it's been an absolute delight. And I really think that I was a casual, the environment, it's important, I guess. I got other stuff to take care of. He sparked such a greater intensity inside of me than I ever knew that I had. And I'm incredibly grateful for it. And he's a phenomenal professor whom I cannot possibly recommend enough to anyone who has not had the opportunity yet. So thank you, Professor Compton.
Well, you're welcome. All right, very good. Thank you, Brendan. And you both are very deserving.
Thank you so much to both of you. Professor Hughes, you're next.
Hi, everyone. I nominated one of my students, Gianna Chachiri. She has been a student throughout several of my courses in the fashion merchandising program pre-pandemic and then via Zoom. So I was always impressed with all of her end of semester projects. I mean, very thorough, very thoughtful. And I nominated her for her project in our global sourcing and sustainability course, which I most recently had her in. It's one of our capstone classes. And she really took a different approach to thrifting and reselling clothing that was a little unusual and really thought-provoking. And you could see all the students in the class were getting really new perspectives. And that's part of the project, is to present a claim of the fashion, of something happening in the fashion industry, and then some counterclaims. So she did a really excellent job on that. And I was really impressed with her take on thrifting.
Okay, so my project basically focused on the idea of resellers
like of thrifted goods from places such as like Goodwill and the Salvation Army, that they provide a way of like helping to keep stuff out of landfills, and this ultimately like helps the environment. So if you're unfamiliar with reselling, it's basically people that purchase stuff from thrift stores and flea markets and such, then turn around to sell that stuff for like a profit online. So they get a stream of income from doing something that they enjoy, and the item gets a second life in a new home. And on the surface, that may seem like pretty much a win-win situation. However, within the past year or so, these resellers, particularly the ones that focus on clothes, have come under fire across social media for like gentrifying the secondhand clothing market. So basically, critics are saying that purchasing stock from thrift stores is like immoral because they say that resellers leave like no nice or quality clothes for anyone else to purchase, as well as like they drive up the pricing in thrift stores. So my research and personal experience, as I'm a reseller myself, in response to these concerns, for one thing, nice clothing is pretty subjective as everyone has like different tastes. As far as quality goes, many people only wear things like a handful of times before donating them. Some even donate garments like new with tags. I'm sure a lot of you have done. So there's plenty of like quality stuff to go around. And like, as far as resellers being the cause of driving up the prices in thrift stores, there's simply no concrete evidence to support this claim. Ultimately, it's important for these critics to channel their anger towards like the direct culprit, which in this case is the thrift stores who increase their prices for the sake of better profit margins. And then the last point I want to mention is that around 84% of donated clothing ends up in a landfill because there's simply like no room for it. So to put this number into perspective, in New York City alone, this comes to about 400 million pounds of donated clothes that gets sent to a landfill annually. So if it wasn't for resellers buying clothing articles in secondhand stores, there would just be like that much more clothing that would end up in landfills. And at the end of the day, this stat shows that there is plenty of clothes to go around for everyone, and whatever their intentions may be with the clothing and then some. And then also lastly, I want to take this opportunity to thank Professor Hughes and the Brookdale community for really challenging like my critical thinking and opening me up to new ideas I wouldn't have contemplated otherwise. So.
Very well said, Gianna. Thank you so much. Moving on to Professor Jess Levine.
So I unmuted myself. Okay. So this is a great moment for me, actually. And I'm closing in on maybe 30 years pretty soon here at Brookdale. And so before there was even a thought of global citizenship, people were teaching in the 80s, they were teaching European history and Western Civ, and the rest of the world was completely left out. So I have to give a quick nod to some of my mentors, Tony Snyder and Sherry West, who developed the World History course here at Brookdale with an eye towards global citizenship. It wasn't just tons of facts, it was really what we're all doing here. And so it's laid out this idea, this template for the way it's taught at Brookdale, which is absolutely brilliant, and we have followed all these years. And I think that that's amazing. And so I guess I kind of live global citizenship every day, sort of, and my students do in their classes. And so students write papers regularly, and I read them carefully. And Angela Giamos, who I'm pleased to nominate, I was very happy to nominate, was one of those people whose papers you read and they just like, I couldn't put it down. And I said, no, she didn't just make that comparison. She didn't make that connection. And so she made that global connection. She made the comparative connections that were so powerful and which impressed me so much. And it wasn't like one, it was another and another and another. You know, and I feel like I was reading papers from someone who's in their senior year at some, college, I don't know where. And so I was really impressed by her. And we moved a little bit and we've worked a little bit towards the idea of an area, which is, a big one, which is that mental health is a gigantic shared global issue. And in our course that we took, which was, of course, World Civ 1 and the ancient world, it's amazing to see the amount of the attention to it. So that was part one. And I know that she'll tell you a little bit more about that because that's where she's going. I think psychology is where she's headed. But the other thing is that, something about women. So I'll let her tell the story. Go ahead, Angela.
Thank you. So, hi, my name is Angela Giamos, and I'm a first-year student at Brookdale. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my world history professor, Professor Levine, who nominated me for the GCP Award. Through his teachings of world history, I was given a broader view on women's history, learning about the challenges and triumphs that women have and continue to endure today. Being a psychology major, I was able to widen my interpretation on history and dive deeper with a mental perspective. With my continued growth and understanding of world history, along with global citizenship, I have the ability to cast a light of the role women played in early world cultures, along with the treatment of mental difficulties as well. These women took on roles of being priests or doctors, where they interpreted dreams for patients in Mesopotamia, recognized depression and dementia in ancient Egypt, and even in Greece, where music, dancing, painting, and exercise helped them. This is just a small glimpse into a global outlook on how cultures uniquely deal with the way of life and how women shape the global sisterhood. It is vital to recognize what connects and intertwines the world together, and through this, bring the world closer together.
So thank you very much. And I'm so proud of you, Angela.
Very well said, Angela. So I'd like to introduce my students who were both in my ALP English 099 class in different semesters. We have a small class in the 099 section. And for those educators on the call, you always depend on one or two students to really spark the discussion and make the class interesting. And those two students are the students that I'm choosing to honor tonight. Being that we were on Zoom, I did actually still get to know them because they wrote narrative essays for me, and they really impressed me with their tenacity, what they've been through in their lives, and their decision to just always learn more, always improve, continue to better themselves. So I think they truly embody the global spirit in that way. So I can't say enough about them, but I know we're over time. So I'd like to first introduce Jess to speak about her work reading the short story Bajadas, which I'll let her tell you about it.
Hi, everyone. First, I just wanted to thank Professor Mackey for nominating me for this special award. I was very honored. She's a wonderful teacher who believes in her students, and she's determined to help us all succeed and reach our full potential. The short story Bajadas, written by Francisco Cantu, was based on a true story, and it was published in 2018. The narrator gives his readers major insight into what he had dealt with as an Border Patrol agent, as well as how the immigrants would attempt to cross the border and what would happen to them if they did so. The story touched me because this is currently a big issue in our country. The struggles and pressures that the Border Patrol agents and immigrants face are a real world problem, and they seem to be overlooked. There are so many families that are living in poverty today, and many of them must also, unfortunately, deal with violence as well as starvation on a regular basis. The ongoing struggles in which immigrants face to access our border is horrific and disgraceful to me. Most immigrants and agents are regular people, and they're just trying to survive in this unfortunate flawed system. For example, most of the immigrants that want to come across our border have dreams and goals just like the rest of us, and they want to come here and pursue them. In the story, for instance, she swore, the narrator says, she swore to me that she would stay in Mexico for good this time, that she would finally go back to finish music school. She looked at me and smiled. Someday I am going to be a singer, you know. This girl had every intention of following her dreams here in the States. She just wanted to make it big and become a superstar, just like many young girls in America do. In conclusion, the story Bajadas was a true revelation that something must be done to ensure that immigrants' human rights and needs are attained, as well as liberated by the UN Declaration of Universal Human Rights. The narrator of this story puts a human face on the thousands of immigrants who cross the border illegally, and it reveals the conflicting emotions of the Border Patrol agents who must try to stop them.
So well said, Jess. Thank you so much. And Brianna read a short story that was in the anthology, Everything Changed, which was our global read text. So I'll let Brianna tell you a little bit about the story, Standing Still.
Hi, everyone. I would like to thank Professor Mackey for this opportunity and tell you guys about the story we read in class. So the short story, Standing Still, written by Lindsay Rediford, reveals just how badly climate change is changing the world. Before reading this story, I didn't take into consideration how serious climate change really is. Before reading the story, I didn't think it was a huge issue until we got more in depth with reading the story. So this short story took place in Madagascar, and the narrator showed many ways how climate change impacted people's lives. Because of climate change, the story showed the island of Madagascar was low on food. And before the issues with climate change, people were able to provide for themselves and their families. In the story, climate change also showed how it affected people's transportation. Due to the massive waves and tsunamis, people were no longer able to drive. In addition to reading the story, we watched multiple news segments that dealt with the current global effects of climate change. One of the news segments we watched showed how parts of their beaches were disappearing. According to the news segment, the beaches used to be much larger, and the island that houses 1,600 people is disappearing due to the rising sea levels. Climate change could cause sea levels to rise by over 6 feet by the end of the century. Overall, reading this short story and watching these news segments increased my understandings of the catastrophic impact of this issue.
Thank you so much, Brianna. And that video was of the Maldives, which, as you all know, is, coral, and it's pretty much at sea level at this point. And just one quick point that I did want to also make, with COVID, there's a lot of intersection between climate change and pandemics as well. So another thing that we really want to think about as global citizens is how do these problems intersect with each other? Because deforestation, changes in temperature, overpopulation, these are all things. Air pollution affects how your body reacts to COVID. So these are things that we all talked about, and Brianna and Jess just brought such great insight into our classes. So sorry, I just had to say that. Professor Maloney, would you please introduce your student?
Yes, thank you. I'd be happy to. Kyle Harris was a student in my English 122 research writing class in the fall, the first time I had ever taught that fully online. So thank you, Kyle, for making it through my trial and error period. But one of the things I always do is a global paper, and this time, it wasn't as easy as usual because I couldn't show some of the videos I wanted to show like in class because it's hard on Zoom. But luckily, the makers of the film Living on $1, so same people who made 5 Years North, if you guys came to that event, same people, that was their first film, Living on $1. They gave it to us for free in the fall for students because of the pandemic, and my class watched it to springboard into a topic, and Kyle took his in an amazing way, talking about water, and I just found his research to be so filled with depth and that critical analysis that you, like, a teacher just like jumps for joy when, like, I jump out of my chair when I see that on the screen, like, oh, they're really thinking. And I'll let him tell you also where it kind of led him. I don't want to steal his thunder, but Kyle, tell us what you're doing with this and your project and how it got you to this next step in your educational career.
Professor, so the first point that I noticed was in the state of New Jersey, minimum wage is $12 an hour. And so off of that $12 an hour, around 1/4 of it can go to enough water to last you a whole week. But so humans can't live without water, and all societies since then have been found around water. And so a 24 case of water at your local grocery store costs you for maybe $3. So that's about 15 minutes living on minimum wage in New Jersey that goes to water for you that lasts you an entire week. In Guatemala, which is where living off $1 a day is set, they can't just drive down to the street to the grocery store, nor do they even make a livable wage of $15 an hour. So in the movie, Chris Temple contracts a parasite known as Giardia due to drinking unclean water. And so Giardia causes numerous health issues, and though rarely deadly, it causes people to take time away from their work just to recover. And that's something you really can't do when you're living out in the hills of Guatemala, just trying to survive and like raise your family. And so instead, like they had to walk, I think it was 2.5, 3 miles just to get the water that they needed. And so from doing the research, I found that only about 45% of the water in Guatemala is considered by the World Health Organization as safe for consumption, which isn't even enough. Like they state that it wouldn't be enough in developed countries, but in underdeveloped countries, it's enough to live. And so from there, it just, I talk about how, why would anybody want to settle for enough when they can get something that they really need to live? So nothing in this world should be good enough, especially vital necessities such as water. So it's completely unacceptable to live in fear of something that you can't actually live without. And so this film really did inspire me and help me come to the place I am today. So next semester, I plan on pursuing biomedical engineering at Virginia Tech. And so what I'm going to take from that is I want to focus on advancements in human health from an engineering standpoint. And so I decided after doing my research and seeing that like the World Health Organization, one of the biggest organizations in the world, is just kind of settling that, oh, it's good enough. Instead of doing that, I plan on making sure everyone has access to like clean and healthy advancements that not only benefit them now, but for years to come.
Great. Yes. We're so proud of you. I'm so proud that you got into that program that you are that you applied for, and I'm so honored to have you as my award recipient.
Thank you, Kyle and Professor Maloney. That was fantastic. Dr. Zampogna Krug, can you please introduce your students?
Right. Good evening, everybody. So I'm delighted to introduce Zachary this evening. And it's actually so appropriate that Kelsey just brought up, you know, there's that student or a couple students in your class that just like light everybody else up. And that was Zachary. So he, you know, every time we met on Zoom, he was engaged, he was talking, he was excited. All the work he submitted throughout the whole semester was fantastic. But my students work on 2 projects. So one of them, I give them some options, and he focused on looking at the European colonization of Uganda and how that colonization has lingering impacts, right, that still affect these countries. And he opted to do a podcast. I've never given students that option to create a podcast, and it turned out so good. And, you know, his research was detailed. He was thorough. He had excellent analysis. And then you could just tell that he was so, you know, so excited. And like he genuinely, like, you know, was excited about what he was learning and talking about. And then he did a fantastic Unit 3 project as well, looking at the spread of communism, and created a tour builder, and it was really cool. So I'll let him talk a little bit more, but he was absolutely wonderful to have in class. So here's Zachary.
Well, hi, I'm Zachary Medeiros. I'm an education major here, and thank you to Professor Z for letting me speak today. And with my previous work on the podcast that I made with focus on European colonization of Uganda and its aftermath, I learned a lot of very interesting things. It was a lot of information that I wasn't ever given the opportunity to learn in high school, that I feel a lot of other people didn't get to learn. And so that's one of the reasons I picked the topic. But from what I learned, there's a lot that can be gained from all of the interesting story of Uganda itself and how it got to that point, where it started off as this simple advantage colony that Britain only got to because they had one person who was living there, or one tribe that favored all of their gifts and let them in. And it soon became one of the crown jewels of Africa, one of the most big and popular and rich, wealthy countries that was down there as a protectorate under Britain. But it also showed how colonization, even with prep time, Britain gave them 20 years to become a country with help. And it still somehow managed to cause a lot of problems and disarray in the country. And as it is now, it's no longer as bright and vibrant as it was under colonization due to the influence of that colonization. So it was very important to me to learn that. And with the global standpoint, it's important to learn from what happened in that country for other countries that might not have gotten to that point in their own history yet, or are still struggling and recovering from the problems that they faced.
Thank you, Zachary. And Isabella is not present, is that correct? Okay, so moving into the co-curricular portion of the ceremony, we have several really fantastic clubs to honor. And first up is the Dreamers Plus.
Okay, Kelsey, and I just want to make sure I'm correct here. I'm the only one speaking on their behalf, right?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So I am so excited. It's again my privilege to honor 3 outstanding members of the Dreamers Plus Club this evening at this ceremony. This year has been very difficult for so many people. The pandemic caused massive unemployment, put essential workers at risk, turned dining rooms into offices, and fueled social isolation, anxiety, and stress. Our immigrant communities have been disproportionately impacted and inadequately supported during the past year. Despite all of this, Daisy, Christian, and Yuritsa continued to lead and dream big. Yuritsa stepped up as the president when the club most desperately needed strong leadership. She effortlessly organized virtual meetings, maintained clear communication with members, and served as an inspiration to her peers. She spearheaded the club's Butterfly Project, which included coordinating the campaign with Red Bank Regional Dreamers, developing a flyer and template, determining drop-off locations, coordinating drop-off and pickup schedules with Student Life, and advertising the project during the International Festival. Thus far, the Dreamers Plus Club has collected 676 craft butterflies that will be taken to Washington, D.C. to advocate our government leaders to push for and create legislation that will give citizenship for all. Yuritsa also provides club members with reminders and information regarding scholarships, internships, and relevant workshops. She is a leader. Daisy is a reliable pillar and advocate for the club. She regularly attends meetings, proposes ideas, keeps and shares notes, recruits new members, mentors those new members, and most importantly, reminds the club of what they've achieved in the past and what they have the power to achieve. She is a team player and a vital cornerstone of the Dreamers Plus Club. Lastly, Christian. And part of this goes to all 3 of them too, but Christian is a visionary who fights for what is right and deserved. Instead of saying, I can't, he says, I can, and his words are brought to life by his actions. He, together with Daisy and Yuritsa, have initiated steps toward making study abroad a reality for dreamers at Brookdale. Christian, with Daisy and Yuritsa's help, has already set up meetings with appropriate parties, conducted research on program possibilities, and raised important logistical and financial questions. Above all, he has advocated for this program, not only for himself, but for all immigrant students at Brookdale. While there is still much work to do before we send some of our dreamers abroad, I have no doubt that these 3 students will succeed. Congratulations, Yuritsa, Daisy, and Christian. This recognition is much deserved.
Thank you so much, and such fantastic work Dreamers Plus are doing. So Professor Mura cannot be with us tonight, but I would still like to recognize and honor her student for being nominated for her work with the Current. Heather O'Donnell has distinguished herself as a global citizen through her entire body of work for the Current over the last few semesters. As the features editor, Heather has used her time and platform to write meaningful stories that shine a light on global issues. Her recent editorial takes a multidimensional look at the rise and incidence of violence and hate against Asian Americans and, more importantly, calls for Brookdalians to help bring this to an end. In other articles, Heather has written about climate change and human rights, and she's taken multiple global looks at the pandemic. She's also carefully examined women's rights issues. So Heather, you will be getting a certificate in the mail, as will all of our honorees. So congratulations to Heather O'Donnell. I'd like to bring Lucy on now to introduce the to honor rather, the International Student Association.
Hello, I'm so happy and so glad to see you all, and to recognize my wonderful students from ISA, International Student Association. And I wrote things, but you know, hearing what I hear, I want to talk from my heart. And basically everybody has a chance to learn at Brookdale from a lot of classes. We have amazing curricular activities and to learn about global issues. But here at our International Student Association, we can learn directly from each other. And I think this is what we did this semester. It was a huge challenge starting in fall, when I understood we will have all the meetings on Zoom. But Dr. Thomas, you know, encouraged me to keep going and say, you know what, let's do it every week. And these students were showing up every single Tuesday for 1.5 hours, and sometimes longer. We couldn't stop talking, to share discussions. And let me introduce the names. Actually, I'm sorry. Our president, Jean-Gardy Paul, who is from Haiti, Małgorzata Sikora, who is from Poland, Jana Dunajewskaja from Russia, and Bushra Charabati from Lebanon. So we are all big international global family of students that really showed amazing support. We made such a deep bond. We have a WhatsApp group that we cannot, like, there's no day we don't talk to each other on that app. So what I think, you know, these kind of relations stay forever in our hearts. This is what keep us strong and keep Brookdale place that means much more than just classes and credits. And myself being international student at Brookdale, I met some of my good friends that I'm still friends 20 years later, also in International Student Association. So I am such a, you know, it's such an honor to be an advisor right now for them. One thing I want to tell you, the huge achievement and big planning going into was creating international festival on Zoom this year. We also didn't know how it's going to be, but it ended up to be such a fantastic journey around the world. We kept the theme. My students came up with this idea to keep the theme of travel destination. We traveled to England, Poland, Lebanon, South Dakota, South Korea, Mexico, Sicily, and Italy. And everybody was talking with such a passion, personal experience. We all wanted to go and travel straight away. So, wonderful to know you all, and you really deserve this award to be recognized, and keep going the way you're going. You are fantastic, fantastic students. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lucy, and congratulations to our ISA students. And I just want to also mention, any student that wants to be a member of Dreamers Plus, our ISA, it's such a rich experience to have cross-cultural and students for global citizenship as well. So feel free to reach out to the advisors and join these clubs, because they are so meaningful. So we have two very important clubs still to recognize, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Tom Burke, or reintroduce Dr. Tom Burke, to briefly talk about TIN.
Briefly?
Briefly.
I will try. Actually, just an aside for a sec, just a quick shout out to Jamie Kluwer, Feel Better. I guess I had the honor of talking to her this 12-hour difference. I was falling asleep and she was just barely awake, but she's got a ton of energy and she's going to make a difference in the world. Getting back to the wonderful team that we had running the Tin Club, it was astounding having the 3 people that Debbie and I have nominated: Maeve Maguire as president, Jeanette Filatico as vice president, and Jillian Omentoso as treasurer, running the project that we were running this year. This year, as many of you might know, we are running a project that has, I guess it's got international implications, international environmental implications. The monarch butterfly portion is the topic that the students at the club had chosen to work on, mostly because of the diminishing populations and the need for habitats. And in order to put a habitat together, we worked with some of the local monarch clubs to plan garden. We worked with master gardeners to plan the garden, and Maeve and Jeanette and Jillian worked seamlessly. Basically, Debbie and I are acting as facilitators. We basically just had to stay out of the way. They did everything. They did, can I do something? Maeve, can I ask you to talk a little bit about all the aspects of the project that you guys had to work through, from getting permission on down, and you can share with Jeanette and with Jillian as you're going through?
If that's okay with Professor Mackey, we're pretty far over.
I feel like I'm just the enforcer here. Yeah, just quickly, because your work is so awesome, so I cannot say no.
So the garden has kind of been a multifaceted project. There's the ecological preservation on the side of the monarch butterflies. We also wanted there to be a mental health aspect, because, pre-COVID, it was already a problem in our area. And then, with COVID, it's even more pertinent to kind of promote mental health. So there's a meditation aspect with both aromatics from herbs in the garden and chimes and bells for the sound. There's been a lot of, one of the biggest things that Professor Burke and Jeanette have done is try to integrate it into the garden, into every part of the curriculum at Brookdale. And Jeanette can speak to this, that it was pretty easy for a couple of them, but it gets more difficult when you look at paralegal and, those sorts of curriculum, but they've been able to do it pretty successfully. It's just been, a long process, and we're actually pretty close to it being done. The beds are built and the soil is in them. So we're just waiting for plants to come in. And yeah, we started this project before COVID even hit. So it's been over a year, but Professor Burke and Professor Mura, we couldn't have done any of this or gotten anywhere close to where we've been with. They say that they're just the facilitators, but really, we couldn't have done any of this without them.
I am so excited to get back to campus and see that garden. It's truly spectacular. I know we're all looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Tin. And last but certainly not least is Professor Alvarez. I had the good fortune to attend multiple events and they were phenomenal, but I will let Professor Alvarez tell you about that.
Wow, thank you, Kelsey. Hey, everybody. Woo, stretch your body, feel your body. Come on, let's feel the love. This has been such an inspiring event, and it's just been so beautiful, and I'm just kind of floored. And I just want to say congrats again to all the amazing folks here tonight. The work that you're doing, you can feel it, right? The heart emoji makes sense, right? It really does make sense. And I just want to say, I wrote the words down so that'll be under 3 minutes. I know I'm the last person, so I want to say, I confess it is pretty hard. I'm kind of speechless when it comes to talking about the leaders of WIL. I think that I just want to say thank you for 3 minutes to Yami Hernandez, Amanda Zelavansky, Linda Trong, Megan Friedman, and Leah Vanderheever. Despite the challenge of this year and imagining student life and engagement in a remote environment, these students, many of them first-year college students, wanted to be a part of something and make a difference. So they reached out. They wanted to learn about WIL, and from that moment, that's what they did. They have and continue to work to make a difference and see their lives in relation to others. Think globally, act locally. In the fall of 2020, they collaborated to put together the first student-led BCC webinar, The Legacy of RBG. The event had over 80 attendees, and while Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the framework for the discussion, her legacy and the impact of her work, the ways in which this work isn't done, was at the center of their discussion. And the focus in the discussion reflects the mission of the WIL student organization and program: intersectional social justice focused leadership and advocacy. This framework was the guiding vision in their work on the supporting installation behind the Brian Hanlon statue donation that is now up in the MAS main lobby, as well as the accompanying webinar in the spring 2021, just in March, the intersections of the 19th Amendment. And I want to encourage you all in the fall, when you return to campus and you're in the MAS lobby, stop and check out that amazing installation that we've been working on for like a year to make happen. It's pretty amazing, and they made it happen. And you would think that after developing all of these programs and events, these students would want to relax in the last weeks of this semester. Nope. Just last week, they hosted the webinar and accompanying fundraiser, New Jersey Communities and Coalition, Stop AAPI Hate, which included alumni, current students, faculty, and good news about the fundraiser. We actually just found out today, because I haven't been checking, but Nico, one of our alumni in the group me, he let us know. They've met their goal, and they have raised $1,000 for Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta, a nonprofit bipartisan advocacy organization that has been part of the fight against the recent voter suppression law in Georgia and has supported survivors in the community. And next week, we're going to have another event on the Better Ballot Initiative. So it doesn't end, because they don't quit. And honestly, I just want to scroll to where they are. Where are you guys? All right, there's Amanda, there's Linda. I want to see you. There you are. Okay, I just want to see you. There are no words that I have, but thank you, Yami, Amanda, Linda, Megan, Leah. You all deserve this. Thank you for making a difference. That's it.
Thank you so much, Professor Alvarez. And if you can put the link to that next event in the chat, I'm sure plenty of people on this call would be interested in checking it out. Just fantastic work for everybody, all of our honorees, so deserving. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic back to Dr. Thomas for closing remarks.
Thank you so much. As always, I am just inspired by this evening, and I want to thank everyone for coming and for participating. Thank you to all the team in the International Education Center, Frank for being our backup and giving us some tech support, and all of the faculty, and especially the students. You all really inspire us. I say time and time again, y'all have heard me say this, that I have the best job on campus, but it's really truly an inspiration, and this is one of our favorite events of the year. My closing remarks are written in the program, so I'm not going to read them to you. But before we leave, I would like to ask our president, Dr. Stout, to say a few words. He is always so kind to participate in our event and come and stay all the way to the end. And I'd just like to have him just say a few words before we close the evening. Dr. Stout?
Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. And I promise I'm not going to keep you very long. I just have to tell you how incredibly blown away I am by listening to all of your work. As you said, Dr. Thomas, it's inspiring. This is what we here at Brookdale live for, is to watch our students to perform at the level that you are. So congratulations to all of you for your awards. But I also want to thank you for taking this opportunity to engage with Global Citizenship Project and to widen your lens. It's very easy in the community that we live in for us to just stay local and for us to just think about our own world. And I congratulate you and thank you for broadening your lens and really looking at global issues. So important. I also wanted to thank you because and this was said a number of times in a number of different ways, but we really look, and when I say we, I'm actually referring back to my days as a faculty member here at Brookdale. We really look for those opportunities for us to find the student that's going to ignite the rest of the discussion within the classroom, right? And you have provided that for our faculty. I can't thank you enough for doing that. It's because of you, you've helped to enrich the experience of other students in your classroom. And I was reminded actually of, that scene in A Christmas Story where the teacher's grading papers and she finds the one paper. It's just like, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life. That's sometimes what the experience is like when you're in the classroom, you find that one paper that is you realize that your work as a faculty member is really having meaning and you have ignited something. So I thank you students for giving that to the faculty. You know that that Brookdale is ranked in the top 3% of all community colleges in the country, 1,200 colleges across the country that are ranked, and Brookdale is ranked within the top 3%. We only are ranked at that level because of the quality of the faculty that we have in our classrooms. It's the influence of our faculty that have resulted in that ranking. So I want to take a minute to just thank all the faculty for the work that you did to help to develop the students so that they could be here and be recognized tonight. And I also, of course, have to thank Dr. Thomas, Lucy, and Anna, and Kelsey, and Raj for the work that you're doing. But just for a second, to go back to the very beginning here, this all started with Professors Burke, Khan, and Miller. And it's because of you that global citizenship has really been woven throughout this institution. It's really because of the work that you do that Brookdale is ranked so highly. So I can't thank you guys enough, and cannot say congratulations enough to you. For those of you that are graduating, I can't wait to hand you your diplomas in a couple of weeks. Congrats.
Thank
you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Dr.
so
Stout.
much, Dr. Stout.
Thanks, Dr.
Very
Stout.
well said.
Yeah,
I just
and-
wanted to say thank you to all the students for making our work easy and, just being an inspiration. And it feels good to hear every year that you're doing such great work. Thank you.
So keep it up, everyone. And guess what? We are under 2 hours. We didn't quite meet my Zoom goal of 1 hour, but what was I thinking? Just so you know, just so you have a little frame of reference, usually we say the ceremony is going to be 2 hours. Sometimes it's 3.5. So we're doing pretty well. But thank you all. Wonderful, wonderful work to all of our students, our faculty, and our great leadership. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful job, Professor Mackey.
Wonderful.
Absolutely wonderful evening. Well done.
Good
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Dr. Burns.
Bye, everyone.
Great job, guys. Thank you.
I wonder how that I
Take that Red Sox hat off, Miller. Down where it belongs, highlighted. Defended, right? Thank you so much, Jan. Good to see you. Great to see you, Lucy.
Yes.
Great to see you. Yes. Oh my God.
And Kelsey has X'd out already. Man, Jan, she did a wonderful job.
She was awesome. Yeah.
Wonderful job for
Good to see you, Howard. Haven't seen you in a long time. You've gone extinct.
Howard, the last time I saw you was at Whole Foods in December of 2019.
Yeah, that's how.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom. Jan, hi. Say hi to your mom.
Good, Dr. Burke.
Yes, hi, Jan's mom.
Hi. Mwah. So lovely to see her. Oh, beautiful.
Very nice evening.
Yeah, mom hung in there.
Way to go, Mom.
Did Mom enjoy the discussion?
Way to go, Mom.
Every time. Doesn't matter the format.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you.
Good night,
Nice
all.
job, Jan. I think it was wonderful. Thanks, Bill, for coming. How wonderful.
Raj,
Thanks
good
for
to
all
see
the
you. I can't wait
support.
to see you in person.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Well,
Anna.
Bill, thanks so much again for coming. This
It
is
was
really
great.
great.
What a night. What a great
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. Thanks for
That's what
coming.
we work for, right? To see us celebrate our students.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Great job all around by everybody. All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
All righty,
You
Bill. Good
guys
night.
couldn't have done it without you, Anna, Lucy, Jan, Bill, for all the encouragement.
You're so welcome. All righty, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Closing out in 2 seconds.